that up to 67% of women blame menopause for their breakdown of relationship.
That's a very high number.
Very, very high number
because in a group setting, there's a kind of support that we gather from one another, and reflections can be done together with group. So insights that we can gain from just sharing, expressing, and also hearing people's stories.
Right.
All those are really healing.
Hi everybody, I am Karen here from Midlife Mojo, and this pretty little lady here is Charis Chin, and she is someone that you need to stay put and listen to. So don't go away, it's all about your mental health. Hi Charis, how are you?
Hi Karen, thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you. So let's start with telling a bit of yourself and what you do.
Sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Charis Chin. I'm a master graduate in counseling. I'm also an expressive art therapist and the founder of My East Psychology Center. I help people explore their emotions, heal, and gain awareness through creativity and art therapy. Of course, that's aside from the evidence-based talk therapy we counselors do. My work specializes in blending psychology with art, making mental health support more approachable, especially for those who actually struggle to express themselves through just words alone. So I think that would be the simplest way to explain it.
Okay. So let me break it down a little bit. So you are a therapist essentially, correct?
Yes.
So you have nothing to do, not an artist per se. That you're not teaching us how to do art, right?
Yeah, it's not about how pretty the art is.
Okay. So this is especially good for people who have difficulty to express themselves. Am I right to say that?
Yes, that is one of it.
Okay.
I can add on expressive arts therapy has already been shown to be extremely helpful for those with traumatic experience.
Okay.
Aside from that, it's also very healing for the normal general population. Very insightful, allows people to express themselves, to heal, to gain insights into their subconscious, and much more.
Okay, so are you saying that this is really perfect because being Asian, we all know men in general are quite bad about expressing themselves. Women are more verbal, right? We are like verbal diarrhea. Whereas men will be like, nothing's wrong, but actually there's a lot of pent up frustration and all that. So something like this art expressive art therapy, I guess it would be really good for women or children or anyone really who maybe have a sexual trauma. Am I right to say that? Something that they can't, maybe they have buried so deep inside that they need to, is that something that you say what you do is best to discover that?
Oh yes, definitely. Like what you said, expressive arts therapy is for everyone and anyone. So the one that I said it has been proven to be very beneficial for people with traumatic experience. It just shows that it can also be an actual form of therapy that helps people to actually heal or to overcome from that kind of really severe state. But even if the rest of the people who are not in the severe state, it doesn't mean that it doesn't suit.
Right. So can you give us an example, Charis?
Yeah. So for example, I had one of the client, the one I can think from the top of my head right now is, so when she came into a session with me, her whole body was tense. Her facial expression was also really, really tense.
Right.
She wasn't able to even use words to tell me what's going on with her.
Oh gosh.
So I knew right away that I needed more than just continue prompting questions and asking.
Okay.
So I pulled out my drawing block. I pulled out my acrylic materials, and I asked her to start coloring. Yeah, I asked her to start drawing. Of course, with my certain guidance, I asked her to start drawing.
Okay.
And after drawing the first layer, so depending on the situation, sometimes one layer is enough. Sometimes I will guide them to do multiple layers. So just from the first layer and just with 3 colors,
Right.
yeah, she was then able to process the art together with me. So I processed it with her by asking her some questions about what she's seeing. And what was so amazing is that she finally was able to verbalize what was making her struggle so intensely.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, the example here, I cannot reveal too much per se.
Understand.
But I can share a certain general example as she could then tell me, wow, purple actually was her, blue color was her husband, and white color was somebody else in the picture.
Okay. Okay.
So there and then that was like a major start of our conversation.
Right.
And we know it was so hard for her to even say that out because it was just too painful for her.
Yeah, I'm sure. And she probably buried it so deep inside her unconscious being, isn't it? And then having to kind of force it out of her through art. I think this is really fascinating. Do you conduct these sessions on a one-to-one basis, or do you do more group therapy?
Yeah, I do both actually.
Okay.
So yeah, one-on-one will have a one-on-one is designed for one-on-one sessions where I combine talk therapy with art therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, amazing results can be seen from there.
Okay.
And whereas when it comes to group, I design it differently because no matter how, it's a more public setting, and we need to take care as a group as a whole.
Yeah.
It's really amazing differently because in a group setting, there's a kind of support that we gather from one another, and reflections can be done together with group. Yeah, so insights that we can gain from just sharing, expressing, and also hearing people's stories.
Right.
Yeah, all those are really healing.
That's absolutely amazing, because one of the things I wanted to talk to you is, as you know, I'm a big advocate for menopause and perimenopause women. And one of the things that I found in this journey of mine in the advocacy of it is that a lot of women, mature women, we tend to let society dictate how we should behave. So we are not allowed to, we don't dare to show vulnerability, we don't dare to cry, we have to be right, we cannot be wrong. Yep. Which is something that I have to also switch personally, because being a kind of, my children call me the Asian Fury mother, and I have to be always right, and I learned to let go. But it's something that I think it's so important, that this is a time that we need to embrace that we are vulnerable, we are human, and we don't know everything, and that we need to just learn to accept things and be a bit more fluid, because there's no perfection in life. And most of all, the fact that we are going through that hormonal change, that hormonal imbalance that causes sometimes unexplained anger, irritability, that can ruin relationships. Because I also know, and just to share, statistics have shown that up to 67% of women blame menopause for their breakdown of relationship.
That's a very high number.
Very, very high number, because men they go through andropause, but their stages is very much later, and their drop in hormone is not the same, is slower compared to women. Women generally, there's a large portion who have very transitionary depletion, but a huge percentage actually have this huge drop, where they literally will say, oh, before 40 I was fine, but the minute I hit 40, I feel like all these pains, all this moodiness that comes into play. And so then, of course, we talk about the hormone imbalance that causes difficulty for intimacy because your libido is gone, your vaginal dryness causes problems. All this comes into play. So, what would um, you know, what would you say to women who are in this stage of life that why should they come and probably explore your therapy?
Wow. I think just from the question alone, there's so many things that
Yes.
but something that really sort of stood out to me in one of the early sentences from this question is about us women having to be really be right, to be productive is something that we have also discussed previously as well, right? Especially when coming from a corporate world.
Yeah.
How the word is cutthroat it is.
Yes.
And I think in that sense it's because a lot of time, and perhaps it's quite unfortunate to say for now, also a lot of environment that we might be working in is sort of coming from a very masculine leadership style, and they expect a kind of a very manly approach to how things should be solved as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in that sense, I think when I hear your question just now, you're right. Women can't be women. I think that sentence had that message there, right?
Right. Yeah.
Women can't show vulnerability, and we can't cry. We can't be down. We can't have our rest days. Especially when it comes to working and productivity, and we need to show results, right?
Yeah.
But if I were to just pause a while, let's just pause a while. Is it something sustainable?
No, exactly. Right.
Right.
It's
yeah.
Not. Yeah.
The simple answer is it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
What you have just mentioned just now is something that I've always known, is what I've always been seeing last time in my days during my corporate days. It's not sustainable. And yet people are rewarding that kind of behavior. When you do not rest, when you do not take MC, they are being rewarded when you are always producing 100% all the time with no rest days, with no downtime. Yeah. And that is also a kind of wrong way of rewarding people, because that makes everyone else who join this certain company or community thinks that, resting means
lazy or useless.
Yes, or useless, right?
Correct.
Such negative connotation to it.
Correct.
Or if I'm sick means I am bad. Yeah. Or if I didn't produce like top result every month consistently means I'm a bad employee. I am useless again. So how does that affect a person's mental health?
Oh yeah, you are so right. Exactly.
Right.
I mean, let's take the analogy of your laptop, for instance. If you have it running for 24 hours, 7 days a week, eventually the computer needs to be shut down anyway. So why do they expect that we humans,
our body,
body that doesn't have that time to rest? Am I right?
Yeah. We don't expect, and we don't allow. We don't have that kind of how to say, we put so much effort into our work per se, but we don't put that similar effort into taking care of our mental health, our physical body, and the big question here is why.
I think,
and it goes back down to, from your question itself has the answer, because the environment, the rewarding scheme, it's not focused on the things that helps us to focus on.
Exactly. And I think it's obviously I'm older than you, and we all have those pressures. Or like my generation, like my parents expected us to be only doctors, lawyers, and accountant. Anything else is not a job. right?
Yes, yes,
So and those jobs, they are very stressful because it's also very male dominated during that time, which means women have to perform, way better. We have to outperform in every way, in every sense, to be recognized in a very more much. I mean, doctors, lawyers, and accountants are generally male dominated industry, right?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
women have those, especially women who are in those businesses, are very very intense, and it's and we can, and expectations about we cannot take time out, or especially when the more I try to tell people that women's biological being is so different from a man. the way
exactly.
the fact that we are childbearing people, we give out human beings from our body, and the
Yeah,
fact that we have to feed babies from our breasts and all these things, this alone, our the complexity of our organs, and yet we are not given the grace to be able to accept our body and say, hey, when I'm going through menopause, there'll be some changes. You got to let me have some days off, but I can perform. Just give me some leeway where maybe I can work from home, or can give me a desk that has aircon flashing right in front of me.
yeah,
That kind of thing. And I think, I don't know if corporations are ready to embrace that yet. I think that we still have a long road to go.
yeah.
Maybe you can shed some light on this. Do you think that the corporate world is ready to embrace that, of more midlife women, middle-aged women?
I mm, I do see corporates are having more openness in terms of getting mental health into the workplace.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that's a good thing.
yeah. At least from what I'm seeing now, I'm
Uh-huh.
not. I can't say that it applies to all and every
Of
companies in
course. Yeah,
future. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but I do see some improvement in that sense, and of course, I hope that improvement can further, that it covers also taking into consideration, not just taking care, but taking into consideration that in any companies or in any place that we work in, there's women and male, and it's not just a male dominant industry. So I hope to see that future. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I think corporations, as much as we understand the dynamics of businesses, is that you have to make money, especially for your shareholders and investors, but not to forget the human side of it, that there is a need to address that the people who work in an environment needs to be cared for as well, not just physically but mentally. So yeah, so one of the things that I'm fascinated is because I know you came from a corporate setup, and
Yeah.
you left a very lucrative job to embark and re-educate yourself, went for your masters, and kind of took a back seat, I'm sure, financially as well. So
Yes.
tell us a bit of that, and what was the challenge, and what was your aha moment that made you do this?
Wow. That is a pretty long story, but again, I'll try to catch certain essence of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, I was definitely, yeah, I was indeed from a corporate world. I was from corporate banking,
Okay.
and as you mentioned, I climbed the corporate ladder. And on paper, everything just seemed right. Um, in terms of stability, it was right as well. I became a very young manager,
Okay.
and I continued on being managers until a regional manager, and I was leading a big team. So everything sort of like, pretty okay, but something always felt misaligned. Yeah.
Right.
So I would say the turning point, or my big aha moment, came is when I realized that climbing this corporate ladder, hustling so hard and being this so-called successful on paper, it came at a cost. Yeah. A cost in terms of I was feeling drained all the time.
Okay.
I burned out multiple times. I was in and out of the hospital countless times. I can't even remember.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think on top of it all, I was truly disconnected from my true self and my true passion. So I've always been really drawn to creativity and psychology.
Okay.
I've always loved art since I was since I was born, if I can remember, you know.
Okay.
Even before I could write, even before I could talk, I was just drawing and doodling away.
Okay.
But all this was just shut down and suppressed as I entered into the corporate world,
Real
you know.
life, yeah.
And yeah, throughout this corporate journey, it's not all bad, of course. There's a lot of things to be grateful for. But I really found that I was very different from other managers of the same level. So one of the distinct event that I could remember is I could see how I was caring for my team. I was nurturing my team. Whereas other managers of the same level, their approach was very different. Yeah, very, very, very different. And no matter how they tried to make me to be more of that, I couldn't. You know, there's this value in me that I know that I can't be like that, you know.
Right.
So there's this heart to help people, to nurture people, a value that I hold deeply. Yeah. And how I found that there's a way to do it is knowing that there's counseling and psychology field that I could venture into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I knew I wanted to do something more meaningful, and that's when I prepared myself.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. And you know, it's something that I can see even when you're talking about, just looking at your face as you talk about venturing into your current business, that glow that comes, and the smile that you have, and it's just enlightening. What kind of advice would you give you know, someone who's in their 50s, probably at the top of her game, you know, going through the changes physically, biologically, but at the same time probably not motivated with her job anymore? What would you advise her to do?
Oh, so I like to link back to our earlier conversation, right? We are talking about if you are lucky enough, we have a company that considers female and male equal rights and care, right? But if not, we are usually in a male dominant leadership or industry. And while we can't change that directly, you know, right now, what we can change is we can change to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
We can change to take care of our mental health, our emotional health, and our physical health. Yeah. So I'm a big advocate for mental health, just like you are a big advocate for menopause and women wellness.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that I like to change in this world, and I'm sure you too.
Yeah.
But we know that we can't change others' behavior, but what we can really do is change ourselves, and we can help ourselves just from there. Yeah. So the advice that I would give to the population that you mentioned is, if they are pretty at a low state, they have no motivation to work, just take a break, just to pause. And one of the way to pause is to spend time with yourself. Yeah. And how to spend time with yourself if you've always been just giving to others, giving to your work, or giving to your family, right?
Yeah. That's what I've been saying. We give so much to the company, to our family, to our parents, and whatnot.
Exactly. So this means that even learning to spending time with yourself, it's also a learning that one should do.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what age they are at. It can be like 50s, it can be 30s, it can be 70s. If they don't know how to take care of themselves, I would say then start learning. Yeah. You can start learning now how to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
So expressive arts therapy is a fabulous way,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
spend time and learn to know about yourself.
That's absolutely fabulous. So, okay, so what when let's say we go through a session with you, can you just briefly tell us what's like the session? What can they expect? Whether it's a
Sure.
group or a personal one, I don't know. Maybe you can share.
Okay. Sure. So I'll share about group first, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in a group setting, where if I'm conducting an expressive arts therapy workshop, most of the time I will have a certain theme for that event. Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, if the theme is about getting to know yourself more, like we were talking about, right?
Right.
So I'll actually design the flow to get them into a certain. I'll prompt them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll design the flow for them to have reflections on getting to know themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm a big person in terms of mindfulness as well. So
Okay.
I always incorporate mindfulness in my session.
All right.
Yeah. Them to get in touch with themselves, get in touch with their bodies, and of course, get in touch with their emotions.
Mm.
So from there, they would feel a lot of calming energy, a lot of slowing down energy,
Mm-hmm.
So that itself is a big change from the hustle and bustle out there. Yeah.
Okay.
And from that, whatever that we captured through that initial first half, I would then slowly guide them into allowing that to be expressed out through art. So what I would usually help them with is capture what they have visualized through the mindfulness session,
Okay.
and then guide them through expressing it through their hands onto the canvas, onto their art piece.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I will always say it's not about how pretty the drawing is. Because 10 out of 10, they will tell me,
I cannot draw.
I cannot draw, exactly. I cannot draw. I haven't drawn in like years. I think last time I drew was like 6 years old. I hear this all the time.
Right.
Yeah. But it's not about how pretty at all. So holding the space is something that, of course, as therapists, like me as a therapist, I would definitely hold the space to be very non-judgmental, to be very safe. Yeah. Only then, when one person draw out, they will not feel ashamed of whatever that looks like, because it's not about how pretty.
Yeah.
It's that whole process. And after that whole process and that whole expression, there will be also what I call it as harvesting bit. So we harvest what that masterpiece has there to say to us.
Right. Right.
So in general, that will be how a session would look like for a group.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So to the audience, with Charis and a few other speakers, we will be having an event in Kuala Lumpur, PJ, on the 27th of April. So mark your calendar. Please follow my Instagram and my Facebook for more details. And also, most importantly, you got to experience this for yourself. You're going to have Charis, you're going to have Yvonne Wui, who's going to talk about maybe finding connection, maybe love at the older stage, and also other speakers that I'll be curating, so that it will bring you a really nice holistic event, with, of course, always nice location, always nice food. So that's on the 27th of April. Please mark that down. I will give you more details, and just follow my Instagram and Facebook for that. And most importantly now is, last but not least, what would you like to say for the to tie up our conversation today?
I guess in general, definitely is for everyone, please come to the event. You experience amazing transformation. And aside from that really fun session with expressive arts, you get to learn from two different coaches as well, which is career, menopause, and also relationship. In terms of my expressive arts therapy, my last bit will be expressive arts therapy actually allows us to access the wisdom of our subconscious. So creativity is freedom. Once you taste it, you cannot do without it. And I hope you come and taste it together in this really healing community.
Wow. Thank you so much. So I wish you well and thank you for sharing with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.